the field. It looks like Tate's made a good start. Acosta as well on the 37. Is he going to get the whole shot down into on the 24? And he's been able to manage to get his way through to the front as well.
Yeah, good start from Artigas, straight for that inside line and able to take that whole shot. Good stuff from him. And Tate then is slotting into second. It's already a bit of a shuffle back there for a few guys. See one of the JTT riders heading around the outside. That'll either be Cooney or Noguchi. Have to see when we come back here. It's Cooney, I believe. So he's made a little bit more progress off the line this time around. But yeah, good stuff. And Alcoba again. Those wily, more experienced riders just able to make the most of that start this time around and get themselves into a position to start fighting it out of the front.
Yeah, Alcoba coming from the third row of the grid to move himself up into fourth position. You can see Dennis Onchu, he's going to send it down the inside, and we've seen that a lot this season from Dennis Onchu. He's not afraid to try and make those moves, but he's able to make it nice and cleanly here on the opening lap of the race. As you said though, Fran, Yuki Cooney up there in fifth position, he's been able to make a much better start this time around.
Yeah, he most definitely has. And in race one, it was Dennis Onchu that we saw really making progress from a little bit further back on the grid, but this time around it's Alcoba and Cooney both off that third row who've rocketed forward a little bit. But you can see, I think it's Barry Baltus is that who's made some good progress through the Angel Nieto team. Really nice livery, black and gold there, who has got through, and ahead of Cooney, who yeah, he was just behind a couple of corners ago, so it's already all to play for in this group at the front.
Oh, and we've got a crasher right here at the start of the race. That's number 36 that's gone down, and unfortunately for Isman Akel, that's going to be the end of his season. But you can see at the front of the field, Xavier Artigas still able to hold on to that race lead. Really good performance here on the opening lap of this race.
Really solid stuff from him, yeah, and it is a bit of a heartbreaker that after we just said the Sick Racing team scored some points this morning, so early heartbreak for them with Ikmal. But yeah, Artigas then really got the bit between his teeth at the moment, and starting to at least able to hold on to that lead fairly comfortably. But it's but you can see Alcoba on that fight. Baltus then heading through there trying to get a 2-for-1. Don't think he's quite pulled it off, but oh, maybe he has. So nice stuff from the number 7 as well. Absolutely not. So good stuff from him, but then Tate already then able to take Artigas and take over at the front of this race. Looking pretty confident is the number 99 at the moment, but Artigas, like we said, as a rookie coming into this season, really impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, I have to say he's been one of the stars this season for me. Himself and Danny Helgado, probably the two biggest surprise packages through the course of the season. Two rookies that have been able to just constantly fight themselves at the front of the field. They find themselves third, and for Helgado, he's been a podium man all the way through this season as well. So really impressive stuff from those two riders. Artigas just looks comfortable out there as well. That Leopard team, of course, Fran, they've had a lot of success this year in the World Championship with Lorenzo Della Porta. They look like they've got a real star in their hands in the form of Artigas as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's been very impressive throughout the year, like you said. And yeah, that team champions with the world champion Della Porta as well. It's yeah, really good outfit to be part of, and likewise it goes both ways. They've got a really good rider in Artigas as well, and right back in this battle again at the front from the whole shot, still able to stay with these guys, although it looks like Alcoba is just going for a move down the inside. And yeah, so it's still the number 99 then that Jeremy Alcoba is focused on in this race, and just trying to make sure he stamps a little more authority on the season, I think, with the final win of the year doubtless his key aim right now.
Yeah, for Alcoba on the 52, once again we just see a nice clean move from him. He just constantly finds a way to always just make those moves without costing himself too much time as well, Fran. That's been the real hallmark of his season. You can see there Salvador on the 38 running out wide, another rider in the background also running out wide,
and a couple of other tens of riders just heading over that green stuff there. They need to be a little bit careful about that. We've seen a couple of penalties already today for track limits, but at the moment no such dramas for these lead four. You can see a little bit of daylight back to the number 6 of Ryusei Yamanaka on that Estrella Galicia machine, but I am very sure that the Japanese rider will be one who is able to just make up that gap and probably tag back onto the back of its number 7 Barry Baltus in 4th at the moment.
Yeah,
getting a bit feisty
there. Few there, yeah, just trying to, and he runs out wide. But for Aleix Few, who's of course on the podium in the opening race of the day, and he's trying to make sure he's able to get himself through it. He waited late in race 1 to be able to get himself through to the front, Fran, but looks like he's trying to make sure he can make those moves a little bit earlier now.
Yeah, most definitely. definitely. He was almost popped up, not out of nowhere. Obviously had a really good race within that group. Oh, Baltus getting feisty already. Heading up into third past Artigas and his old ETC sparring partner. Another one who moved up very quickly is Barry Baltus. But who are we saying? Aleix Few. Yeah, he seemed to kind of appear from the mid of this group in race 1 and take that podium. Impressive stuff from him. And we've also mentioned his bad luck of recent seasons as well earlier on. So it was good to see him back on the box. And it's just closing up a little bit, I think, between those front 4 who initially looked like they've really been able to stretch away, but Yamanaka putting in the groundwork to try and tag back onto the back of is it Baltus still in 4th? No, it's Artigas, and now it's all going to change again. 3 wide into turn 1, classic, and Artigas gets that 3rd place back. Yeah,
good move there from Artigas to get himself up into that 3rd position, but you can see, as you said, Fran, Yamanaka is coming and he's bringing with him a train of riders that's being led by the likes of Pedro Acosta as well. Acosta doing a good job here in only his 4th start in the CEV Moto3 class, so good performance there from the Red Bull Rookies race winner to be able to keep himself in those top 6 spots. Rio Yamanaka, though, he's the fastest man on the track. You said that, Fran, last time round. He looked like he was the one that was closing the gap.
Don't you love it when it's proven that we're actually at least partly know what we're talking about? He's as you can see then already on the back of that Angel Nieto team machine that's in 4th place at the moment. So good job from the earlier in the year Valencia race winner, number 6 on the Estrella Galicia 00 machine. And it looks like we're going to get another classic freight train in a minute if the guys behind Yamanaka can just stay with him, who, like you said, led by a pretty impressive performance from Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, and you can see here at the front of the field that Alcoba just trying to make sure that he doesn't get duffed up too badly, because once you start to fall and lose a couple of spots in this group, you could easily see that compounded and drop all the way to the back of the group. You can see at the back of the group it does look like it's Max Koppler once again that is bringing up the rear of this group. So that means that there's around 20 bikes in this leading group right now. That's pretty much half the field, Fran.
It literally is half the field, and a lot of them won't even score a point even for being in the lead group. If it were to end now, it's obviously the top 15 who take points home. So I'm sure it'll get whittled down a little bit as we tick down through the laps. But at the moment it's Tatai in the lead of this race then, the Red Bull Rookies Cup champion, but Artigas might be looking to change that again already. And a couple of impressive performances in this lead group. You can see Baltus and Artigas both looking like they've definitely come to party in this 2nd race of the day and final of the season.
Yeah, Baltus, of course, winner of the opening races of the year in Estoril in his 2nd year in the Moto3 class. Last year, of course, he had pretty decent on occasions, but this year he's been a lot more consistent. That's where he finds himself 4th in the championship standings right now as well, the Belgian, and he's trying to make sure that he's got a chance of finishing the year on the podium. He's putting the pressure onto the champion Jeremy Alcoba on the number 52 machine, so Baltus, he's always willing to try and make a move as well from it, and you'd imagine down into the likes of turn 11 he's probably going to just try and force that move as well on this lap on Alcoba, because he's not afraid of reputations. He just always tries to make those moves and try and get himself through into the positions in front of him, so he's always aggressive out there on the number 7 machine.
Yeah, it looks like maybe we've had a little bit too much aggression. That's poleman Davide Pizzoli then out of this race, and the number 76 of Giral as well. So that's a bit of a drama. Don't know what's gone on with those guys. Maybe we'll see a replay.
Yeah, it's down at turn 2, so probably just got a little bit too close to one another on the run down into there. Very easy for that to happen through those sections as well, because you do tend to just see riders try and make those block passes, try and be a little bit too aggressive on occasion into turns 1 and 2. But you can see here at the front of the field, Carlos Tati doing a good job to stay in front of all the aggression, and it is getting quite aggressive down there as well. That's David Salvador on the 38th that's just been elbowed out of the way by Aleix Few, and Danny Halgado now in the 96 trying to put himself into a position to move himself back up through the field. He's recovering, having dropped down as low as 13th earlier in this race.
Yeah, and Salvador was pretty impressive this morning as well, and he's coming from the middle of the 6th row as well, so it's no mean feat to be a presence in the front group as well, because it's not the first lap, it's not a good start, and then he's going to fade back. He's once again fighting it out with these guys. Pretty unmissable colour scheme as well. That livery definitely stands out. I think it's the easiest bike to call on the whole grid.
Yeah, it would remind you of like Louis Salam's old paint schemes and things like that. And of course for David, he's been able to have a good performance so far today to be able to get himself into those leading groups, and once again trying to make sure he's in a position to try and attack during this race. You can see Jeremy Alcoba though with those championship winning leathers, Fran. He's getting duffed up everywhere.
He is. I think there might be a few little bits of extra colour scheme on those by the end of this race. So a few of the guys who've been on the podium today, a lot of rubber on those leathers. So yeah, it's definitely aggressive out there in all categories.
Tiger Tony down there in the pit box as well. Of course, Tony Elias
just peeking out the back there.
I'll tell you what, he probably needs to get himself onto a stool as well. Tony, quite diminutive down there in the back of that pit box. Of course, racing over in the Moto America Championship these days is Tony Elias, but he came through this CEV Championship in the 125 days and then moved on to the 125 World Championship, 250 World Championship. He's of course a MotoGP race winner as well, Elias, and now, as I said, racing superbikes over in the US.
Yeah, was it 200ths or 300ths? No, thousandths rather, that race in Estoril. So yeah, Grand Prix winner Tony Elias, always good to have those guys in the house. But we can see a lot of encouragement from there down on the pit wall then. It always amazes me how they put the positions on the board as well. Like, that's going to be out of date pretty much as soon as they've gone past you. I
just love the fact that they're giving Moto3 riders encouragement to go. These guys are always on it. You can see with Alcoba though, he wasn't on the racetrack there. He was all the way out wide on the run through turn 1. That's something that all these riders have to keep an eye on. The track limits aren't a recommendation, they're a requirement. You've got to make sure you stay within those white lines and avoid the green paint. But for these riders in the leading group here in Valencia, Fran, this is one of the tracks where we always see riders running out all the way out from those track limits.
A few wide, and also a few little bit of corner cutting at a couple of apexes. You can just go in a little bit too tight. You can see then Cooney then got a little bit beaten up after that better start than he had in race 1, but still a presence in this group. And yeah, it's getting a little bit feistier out there now. You can see Acosta just going for a move on Cooney. Yep, Japanese rider more than aware that he's there. And then yeah, that luminous orange just looming large behind him as well. It's yeah, thank you. He's just giving me a thumbs up for that lovely little play on words. But it's getting pretty close out there now, and obviously everyone's aware this is their last chance of the year to get on the podium or to score some good points and to go out on a bang in 2019. So that's exactly where you can also run afoul of track limits without necessarily being too wide, just a little bit too tight.
Yeah, Fran, the key thing is, as you can see, all the riders fanning out down into the last corner here. But for all these riders, Fran, they're going to put themselves into position, put themselves in the shop window for next season. You've got riders that are racing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, the CEV Moto3 class, obviously, but also they're going to put themselves into an opportunity to get themselves onto good Grand Prix rides for next season. This is a real chance to be able to show exactly what you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said at the start of the show on the grid as well, there's a few names who will be moving up for definite next season, but there's a few as well. Not everything's decided yet, so there's still much opportunity to show what you've got, and also to other teams in the CEV. Maybe if you are a bit of a newer comer to the class, although I'm sure the likes of Artigas already put himself in a pretty good shop window already.
Yeah, I think if I was the team manager in the Moto3 World Championship, Artigas is one that I'd be looking at. But interestingly, here in Valencia, we're also hearing that the likes of Lorenzo Falana is going to move on to that Estrella Galicia bike for next season in the Moto3 class. So already these teams are all trying to find the next generation for the CEV class as well. And you can see with Ryo Yamanaka, one of the riders that is guaranteed to be moving up to the World Championship next year, Fran, he's been able to move himself up into second spot there, able to make some nice clean moves there.
Yes, definitely. He's going to be one to watch. I think already a bit of Grand Prix experience. You can see the Angel Nieto guys there. Those guys, again, pretty close company for teammates out there. We've seen some close manoeuvres between Angel Nieto bikes in all classes today. So some nervous faces.
I think I'd love to have the heart rate monitor down there on the likes of Gino Corso. We saw Maverick Vinales with the heart rate monitor on during the course of one of the sessions in Malaysia. I think the heart rate in Aspar will be a lot higher. That's Asman that's gone down there on the number 39 machine. Just keep an eye on the right hand side of the shot. Lost it very early on the run down towards turn 4 there. So unfortunately for Asman, his season looks like it's probably coming to an end. Carlos Tate though leading the way here once again, and the gap between himself and the chasing pack, it's up to 2/3 of a second. You can see Artigas on the 24 trying to make sure that he's able to move his way up to the front of this group. He's gone from 5th to 3rd position in this leading group, and now he's going to try and put the pressure on to Ryo Yamanaka to try and get himself up into second spot. David Salvador able to be aggressive at the back of this group as well to try and attack. Keep an eye out for the number 38 machine. He's just trying to duff up Yuki Cooney there at the back of this shot, and inside this leading group though, you can see once again all these riders just trying to shuffle their way through, including the likes of Jose Garcia there on the number 20 machine. He's been able to finish on the podium in Le Mans, finished on the podium in this morning's race as well. And now for Aleix Fiu, the man that finished on the rostrum in race 1, he's trying to make sure he can get his way through as well. That's Gerard Riou that's gone down as well on the KTM machine. So his season comes to an unfortunate conclusion. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Carlos Tate, he's been able to stretch out a lead now. That looks like it's up to around about a second between himself and Ryo Yamanaka. So opening up that gap as Jose Garcia moves himself up into second position now as well. And a big moment there for the Aspar bike. That looks like it was Aleix Fiu just getting out of his saddle there. You can see on the run down in towards the end of the lap now. This is where we'll tend to see an awful lot of riders attacking one another. It's all about getting the run down through turn 13. There's still 10 laps to go, 9 laps to go whenever they come across the line. So we're only at halfway through this race, and already this leading group is starting to fight with one another. It's starting to splinter, and that's what's allowing Carlos Tate to open up a gap. Tate, of course, having won 3 times already this season. He's trying to finish the season strong with a 4th win of the season for the Red Bull Rookies Cup winner for 2019. You can see in that scrap for second spot, Barry Baltas there just getting ran out wide on the entry and having to collect himself. This is the move that we saw from Jose Garcia down the inside on Yamanaka, Fran, and keep an eye out for Aleix Fiu there. Just a big moment.
Yeah, getting a little bit close out there, and Garcia, not one we've seen much aggression from at all today. So yeah, up to old tricks in race 2 again. But yeah, good stuff from him, and they've been fairly clean manoeuvres, to be fair to him. They've just been pretty aggressive.
Yeah, and for Garcia, that's been what he's done at times through this year as well. If you look at Le Mans in the tricky conditions, he did something similar to manage to finish on the podium there. You can see Aleix Fiu once again running in a little bit too hot. He's tapping his tail unit. He's saying, Carlos Tate is getting away. We need to be able to work together. Otherwise, the chances of winning this race are long gone. And I tell you what, Fran, we don't tend to see an awful lot of times where Moto3 riders work together. Yeah,
it's interesting because it's the class where it moves. Big crash there, and it's View who's gone down. Oof.
It's Salvador as well. And Garcia's down.
Pretty much everyone in that front group then affected by that, except Tatai, who was in the lead. It looks like everyone managed to avoid getting hit by any of those machines or riders, but big drama then with View going down just after tapping that seat unit, pushing obviously a little bit too hard, but hopefully we'll get confirmation that everyone is up and okay after that.
Yeah, unfortunately a few riders did follow him in that incident as well, and you can see for Aleix Fiu it's been a real up and down season for him. He finished on the podium here in race 1, he finishes on the ground in race 2. His season comes to a close at Salvador as well, and unfortunately for David Salvador, he's looked quite strong all the way through today's racing, and it looks like he's taken a bit of a knock there onto his right ankle as well. You can see him just hobbling away. The gap now at the front, it's just under 3 seconds between Barry Baltas that we see there on the number 7 machine and the race leader Carlos Tate, but you can see now with Aleix Fiu just offering his apologies to the other riders involved in that incident. Let's have a replay of it now as well. You can see just how early it gets lost as well there from view. We didn't actually really get to catch too much of it there, Fran.
No, we didn't. So, yeah, so you can see they just slides out and really, really lucky to get avoided there.
Unfortunately, this is very reminiscent of what happened in Catalonia as well, where Aleix Fiu in race 1 crashed, took out another couple of riders as well. And as you can see there, for all 3 of those riders, just making sure that each other are all right and that the bikes get cleared up. At least the marshals are able to get their job done, and we're able to keep racing here as we move into the final third of the race. It's opened up a big gap for Carlos Tate, and one thing that we've seen from Tate, Fran, all the way through the season is whenever he's presented with an opportunity, he doesn't tend to let it slip.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a track limits warning though. Interestingly, for this man, the man on the chase behind Tatai in that race lead, Barry Baltas. So I have to see the Belgian now have to keep his powder a little bit drier and just avoid that green stuff too much and not gain any key advantage from it. But it's Artigas just behind him as well. So a couple of the guys from that ETC stable, and then now reigning champion Jeremy Alcoba. So there are a few guys who might be able to reel in Tatai, but at the moment he's pretty solid at the front as the Spaniard, and it's a sizable gap that he's got, especially with that hole being punched in the chasing pack by that View crash.
Yeah, you wouldn't fancy trying to make up 3 seconds in 7.5 laps around this Valencia circuit on a Moto3 bike. So as it stands right now, and you can see Baltas has been given that warning as well by the team. They're telling him that you've exceeded those track limits, you need to watch yourself for the rest of this race. Once you get that warning, Fran, it really is a case of you're then on that watch list. If you run wide again, you will get a penalty.
Yeah, most definitely. you will have the eagle eye of race direction looking down on you and your exploits. And at the moment then Baltus can go in his merry way and not get any penalty, but if he does repeat that offence, then he will get a penalty, I'm sure, and I'm sure it will be a long lap penalty based on what we've already seen so far today. But it's all some pretty interesting lines from those guys there on the chase. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about Tatai at all if they are going to have this big squabble.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to do anything about Tatai because the gap is too big. With 6.5 laps to go, you have to be half a second a lap faster. Right now they're only pulling in about a tenth of a second on Carlos Tatai, so not nearly enough, and they're still scrapping with one another. You can see Alcoba just trying to make sure that he's able to put his bike into a position to try and attack what looks like Yamanaka on the run down in towards the left-hander, and that's aggressive there from Jeremy Alcoba, but he's also able to make the move nice and cleanly. His teammate follows him through as well, so you can see there the number 25 of Adrian Hernandez able to move himself up into those leading positions now as well. So good stuff there from Fernandez.
Yeah, that was good to be able to follow his teammate Alcoba through, like you said, but Yamanaka really losing out there, mainly from just giving just enough space to Alcoba, then also ceded that position to Fernandez right behind him. But Yamanaka is still in a good position to try and attack for this podium at the moment, and at the moment it is Artigas versus Baltus getting pretty close at the front, but it looks like these guys now, the two Leglis machines, going to attack into turn 1.
And you can see Fernandez on the 25, he's under attack as well from Ryo Yamanaka. Yamanaka on the 6, is he going to be able to make up a couple of places? Alcoba, the champion, he's moved himself up into third position. The gap between the race leader Carlos Tatai and Barry Baltus in the second spot, that's over 3 seconds now, so the race leader's gone. It's all about who's able to finish on the podium at the front of this group as well. So right now it is Barry Baltus, and you'd be a brave person to bet on the result staying as it is right now, because this group, Fran, they've been changing places all the way through.
They really have, and they've pulled in a couple of tenths before on Tatai, and then as we've seen just craziness erupt once again, they've just lost even more ground. And like you say, I think it's much too big an ask now to try and chase down the number 99 machine, who barring any serious mistakes looks like he is going to win this final race of the season. But Fernandez then looking pretty feisty against his teammate and now reigning champion Alcoba. Obviously the pressure's off now, so I'm sure they can race each other without any special warnings from the team to just be a little bit extra careful. But at the moment, solid race from Fernandez, and up from a little bit further back on the grid as well. Yeah,
Fernandez doing a good job. He's had 3 top 10 finishes already this season, but he hasn't been able to fight it out for race victories or podiums, so this is the best we've really seen from him all the way through this weekend, this season so far. And the number 25, is he going to be in a position to try and attack his teammate there? And you can see with Baltus still able to hold on to that position in second spot, but it is a case of Alcoba against Fernandez now in the scrap for third position, and Fran, that final step on the podium.
It is very much I think it's a good few riders still in this scrap for the podium, with still 5 laps to go. We've got the 2 Leglis machines, Baltus still in there, Artigas still in there, Estrella Galicia guys just behind them as well. It does look a little bit like they've caught up some ground on Tatai, but like we said, I'm sure he's much too far out of reach now to try and get on terms with him. But these guys then, there's an awful lot of people in this group who are going to get disappointed, because there's 7 of them and there's 2 places on the podium up for grabs.
Yeah, exactly, and you can see with Barry Baltus, number 7 in this group of 7, he's out there trying to make sure that he's able to keep himself at the front of this group. We've got 4.5 laps to go, so the clock really is starting to tick down. I have to say, Fernandez though looks really impressive, doesn't he? Brother, of course, of Raul, the Moto3 World Championship rider, and this is the first time where he's really looked like he's been able to bring this fight in the Moto3 Junior World Championship this season. Yeah,
it is. He's having a really solid ride, like we said, from a little bit further back on the grid. I think he was 19th or 20th on the grid. Really, really solid ride from him, but not just able to capitalise on those few fallers and get himself in the right position, but also looking pretty racy with it as well. He's really in touch with these guys, and able to stay with his teammate, who is the newly crowned champion. So impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, Alcoba, he's been able to keep his leathers clean for the last half dozen laps for Han after that frantic start to the race, and Alcoba certainly, he's once again putting himself into a position to be able to attack. But you can see here with Fernandez, is he going to be able to get down the inside into that last corner? Nice clean move from Fernandez. As I said, Fran, this is as good as we've seen from him all the way through this season.
Most definitely is, and it'll be interesting to see it again into turn 1 now. Who is going to win the great 3 abreast Moto3 shuffle that we traditionally get down here? But yeah, it looks like it's going to be Artigas. No, not quite able to at least get Baltus, but back into this podium fight then at the sharp end of it is the number 24. And great race from him as well. But Baltus looking pretty strong in that second position at the moment. Not been too bothered for a good couple of laps.
Yeah, Costa as well on the number 37 machine, able to get himself up there into those leading positions. He's doing a good job as well here on only his 3rd weekend of CEV action. He was at the front of the field at the start of race 1, ran out wide though and then dropped down the order. But once again, Fran, we're able to see the multiple Red Bull Rookies Cup race winner able to get himself in and amongst it at the front of this field. Barry Baltus, though, race winner of the opening round of the year in Estoril, and he's really been able to do a solid job here again today to be able to keep himself up into that 2nd spot. Looks like we've got a long lap penalty for the number 32. That's Noguchi, and that's for repeated offences of running outside the track limits. So unfortunately there for Noguchi, he's going to drop down the order. He's currently in 10th place, Fran, and this has been probably one of the better shows we've seen from him lately as well.
Yeah, it is. So that's a shame for the number 32. Got a bit of an ATC match on there with Dennis Onchu just ahead of him. Looks like he will drop a few positions because it's a little bit of a group there as well. So that's going to be a heartbreaker for Noguchi. But if he does get it done quickly, he at least does have a couple of laps left to try and gain those positions back if he can. But yeah, he'll have to head around that long lap penalty pretty soon.
You can see Carlos Tate, he's got no real concerns for himself. He's got a comfortable lead, still lapping pretty fast times as well. He's got over 3 seconds at the front of the field from Barry Baltus. So for Carlos Tate, he's on course for that 4th victory of the season. You can see for Artigas, Fran, he's always able to keep getting himself into position to try and attack to move to the front of this group. And Fernandez once again as well looking like he's got a real chance of fighting for the podium. Acosta down the inside though, and Pedro able to make that move, but it looks like he might have just ran out a little bit wide there as well, Fran.
Yeah, a little bit wide there, but able to keep that position. But Baltus looks pretty solid at the head of this group. No one was able to attack him last time around, although Artigas getting increasingly closer into turn 1, just not quite able to make that move without a risk of slightly ramming his old ETC sparring partner into turn 1.
Yeah, I think that even in the Moto3 class at this stage of the race, you're not thinking too much about the battering ram moves, but you will in a couple of laps time whenever it's all about trying to make the moves to get onto the podium spots. You can see there from Acosta though again, able to defend really well from the lease rider there to be able to keep in front of Fernandez. Good riding there from Acosta on that number 37 machine.
Yeah, definitely, and he has, like we've said, been pretty impressive since arriving here, so good stuff from him and still very much in this fight for the podium. And I think maybe Dennis Onchu is bringing those guys a little bit closer to this group, and yeah, if it ends up with a really big freight train, that could be very interesting.
Yeah, the gap between Onchu and the back of this group still needs to make up over a second, but with the scrap as it's going to be, Fran, you can easily lose quite a bit of time. As you can see with Alcoba, he's lost a bit of time over the last few laps just by falling to the back of this group. You start to fight with one another, it's very easy to get yourself caught out. You can see there, that's Noguchi being given that long lap penalty. Also Andrei Vostacek, the Czech rider, also been giving a long lap penalty as well. This is the 53 of Dennis Onchu. He's got 2 laps to try and close up on that group in front of him. The 32 is Noguchi that's going to have that long lap penalty, but Onchu is right there now as well, Fran, just keeping himself in a position. But with only a lap and a half to go, you then have to try and get through this group as well.
Yeah, you do. You have to go full on me at turn 1 on the PlayStation mode and just absolutely blitz past. So yeah, it's a pretty big ask, but if we did have a couple of laps left longer in this race, then I think maybe they would have been able to catch him. But it's going to be interesting as well to see if Noguchi's seen that penalty or if he's going to make Onju's life that little bit harder as well, still trying to race the Turk ahead of him before taking that penalty.
Yeah, the PlayStation line through turn 1 has been quite popular all the way through this weekend. In fairness though, the car park route has probably been the most popular. We saw some riders really wide all the way through turn 1, but it's been pretty clean all the way through in this Moto3 race. The final laps of the 2019 season coming to a close, and now it's all about who's able to stand on the podium, because as you can see with Noguchi, he does take that long lap penalty, but who's able to stand on the podium, because Barry Baltus looks really strong, Fran. You also have the likes of Artigas trying to make sure he he finishes his season on a high as well. So all these riders, they're now a lap and a half from the end of the season.
They are indeed. And Tatai then a lap and a half from ending the year on the top step. But the rest of them, I think it's all going to be the final corner again, and another great Moto3 shuffle to end this season. Or, of course, we could have another dramatic last lap, as we've seen so often. They thunder past our commentary box, and there's no daylight really between a good few riders at the front of this field. And it looks like it's going to be Baltus again, really strong into turn one, the Belgian.
Yeah, the last lap of the 2019 season now drawing in, and you can see with Barry Baltus, he's been able to put himself into that second spot right now, but Artigas trying to attack once again, and Fernandez hasn't stood on the podium through this CEV Moto3 season, but he's put himself into a position to really give himself that opportunity. You can see with Pedro Acosta as well there on the number 37 machine, he's also trying to fight his way up onto that podium spot as well. Really good to be able to see so many young riders here, Fran, as well, battling it out at the front. You've got Baltus, Fernandez, Artigas and Acosta, all riders in their first or second year in the CEV Moto3 Championship.
Yeah, exactly. It's really great to see these guys have really made an immediate impact, especially Artigas, like we said, this season. Really impressive stuff from the number 24, and Baltus as well, a fairly new face on the scene, and it looks like he's in good contention to get another podium at the Belgian, so really good stuff. The race leader, though, still got plenty of daylight. He's going to be under no pressure through that final corner and on his way to the line, but these guys, I think it's still everything to play for, although Baltus got a couple of metres there.
Yeah, Tate's been and gone. This is the key area of the track now, whether or not you're able to open up a little bit of a gap. Baltus has managed to open that gap, but you can see for Artigas on the 24s, he's close enough to try and attack on the 25 of Adrian Fernandez. This is Carlos Tate, the man that's second in the Junior World Championship, the man that picked up the Red Bull Rookies Cup success this season. He's in a position to pick up his fourth race victory of the season, and he's going to be able to do that on the number 99 machine. 4 wins for the season for Carlos Tate. Finishes the season as a runner-up. Who finishes runner-up in this race? It looks good. Baltus across the line, and maybe Adrian Hernandez has been able to claim that first career podium in the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship. He's certainly celebrating like he finished third.
He is, and the timing screen says he did, but it's incredibly close. Just got a few hundredths of a second between those guys, but I think it is looking like it's Fernandez then, the first podium. Impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, really impressive stuff from Fernandez. He came through the field to be able to do that. Really impressive from Carlos Tate as well, though, Fran.
Yeah, most definitely. You can see celebrating there in the runoff area. Good stuff from him. Great season. Not quite able to challenge Alcoba all the way to the wire in this race for the crown, but another win for him, and like we said, rookies champion already. Pretty good season.
Yeah, solid season for Carlos Tate. He'll be stepping up to the Moto3 World Championship next year, and very much a deserved promotion for him as well. He's been strong in the Rookies Cup. He's been strong in the CEV Championship. We talked earlier on about the fact that we still haven't seen anyone do the double of a Rookies Cup and also the CEV Moto3 Junior World Championship, but Carlos Tate certainly gave it a good shot to be able to do that.
He most definitely did. Yeah, like I said earlier, I thought it was going to be Cooney before those injury troubles, but Tatai then coming the closest we've seen, and just going to be a few points shy by the end of it, and the man in the special leathers then able to celebrate his championship with another solid race, but no podium, and just on the fringes of the top 10 was Alcoba today.
Yeah, and,
or I should say this afternoon.
And for all these riders, they now get the chance to finish their season on a high, and for the likes of Artigas, he also finishes the season on a high. He's been able to finish third in the championship standings, manages to hold off Barry Baltus by just a few points, but those two riders really have impressed all the way through this season, with Baltus winning the opening race of the year in Estoril, and then Artigas have picked up a race victory in Aragon and a host of podiums as well through the course of the season. See there for Yamanaka, race winner here.